What's going on, everybody? It is Teacher of Math here with a Set 10 meta recap. And you're probably asking yourself, what's the point of a Set 10 meta recap? Isn't Winterspell coming out in like 7 days? The answer is yes. And to answer the question, what is your point? Well, I'm not exactly sure, but I have a friend who's getting into the game who wants me to ask me like what the matchups are, what are the impactful turns, and I figured I could just throw together a video and maybe it'll be fun to watch in a couple sets to see what kind of poverty we were living in under Set 10. I'm going to go through each of the big 5 decks, which in my opinion are Blurple, Amber Steel Aggro, Purple Steel, Green Blue, and Dogs. I feel like those are kind of the 5 horsemen at the end of the set. And I'm going to go through each of their matchups with each other literally in like under 30 seconds. My goal is to keep the whole video under 10 minutes. We'll see if we get there, but it's going to be fast and furious. So if you need to stop and rewind, please do that. And then the only thing that I don't go through is the mirror for each of those decks. If you want to see more of a breakdown of the mirror, be sure to leave that in the comments and I'll make sure to get that going for you. So without further ado, here we're going to start with Blurple. Before I get into the actual matchups with the other decks, I'm just going to do a quick overview on what the deck does well and what makes it thrive. Blurple has really strong single target removal. You're going to see a lot of like Cheshire Cat battles. The big impact turn here is the turn 4 Elsa. So you play your 4-drop on turn 3, Elsa to exert on turn 4, and then you just kind of control from there, Hades on 7, etc. The matchup with Amber Steel Aggro, so the top deck is the top deck like Blurple or the left side is always going to be the one that I'm imagining that we're playing when I'm going through these. Blurple and Amber Steel Aggro is a little bit of a harder matchup for Blurple. You kind of really want to open with 2 1-drops and a sail. And you want to have Into the Unknown for Tiana because you can get in these situations where, by the time you can get Hades, you've probably either won or lost already, without a few fringe cases. But you want to save your Into the Unknown for their Tiana so that you can build a board, and then when they exert all their guys, you can Into the Unknown Tiana and kill all their other guys. You probably want to keep an extra action in hand to dodge Mowgli, and then you just kind of Elsa and Hades their guys and hope that they don't get to 20. Blurple versus Purple Steel. This is a very serious value war. So people with Dumbos and guidebooks and other cards that draw cards, docks for Purple Steel. We're just trying to figure out who can kind of last the longest in the game. Purple Steel can get out pretty fast, but not necessarily fast enough that it doesn't typically turn into a value war. It's really going to be like who can get the most value off of their Demonas. So make sure you're not keeping too many cards in hand. Cheshire Cat is critical in this matchup because that's going to help you win the evasive war. And also Basil is pretty big too because then you can Elsa and support, all that stuff. And then just remember when you're in your calculations that they do have Cobra. So Cobra can easily go off for, a ton of lore. If they draw 2, it's like 4 lore right there and then you're just done. Blurple into Green Blue. This is a bit of a tougher matchup. You really want to keep your hand size low to diminish the Clarabelle value. 2 1-drops is a really good move here so that you can just keep your hand size low. Really the best thing to do here is to double ramp. If you can get triple ramp, that's pretty cool too. But really just making sure that your hand size is super low so that when they do Clarabelle your welcome you that they don't get like 15 cards. You do have to respect the Phillips shift line, so you want to not go super wide. And just understanding that, being able to read the game and figuring out, okay, I think they do have the shift line, I think they don't. And then you can save your Hades to try to Hades the Clarabelle. Obviously, most green blue decks are on John Silver, which typical Blurple lists really thrive against because obviously you have Dumbo. So I would save Dumbo when they're getting into the 4, 5, and 6 ink turns just in case they slam a John Silver. You want to be able to play Dumbo to save your Genies and your Elsas. The matchup into Dogs is supposed to be really good for Dogs. I had a really hard time at DLC Richmond. I lost the 2 Blurples on Dogs. It's probably because I'm bad, but I've heard from other people that the matchup is a little bit more even than we might think. You really want to save your Elsa for Tramp. Again, dogs can get out pretty quick, and then they can also have a really big under the sea turn against Blurple. You don't really think about it, but if you go Basil into Sail, Rafiki, play a Genie, Elsa on 5, and then they under the sea you and just kill your entire board. For that reason, you probably want to prioritize Dumbo on turn 3 with your 4 ink instead of Iago or Genie because Iago gets lullabied, Genie gets under the seed, So Dumbo's really the only one that's kind of safer. Many of them are on Horseman Strikes as well, so really you're not safe no matter what, but you can be a little bit safer that way. Keep in mind they do have Go-Go to finish, and you have a lot of characters with a lot of willpower, and so sometimes it's inevitable that you got to put damage on your guys to kill their guys, but just be aware of Go-Go. That's it for purple, guys. We're really, really doing it. Amber Steel aggro. So if you're on Amber Steel aggro, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, your first matchup we're going to talk about is into Blurple. You want to quest as fast as you can. It's kind of the opposite of the Blurple matchup. You don't really want to be controlling anything. You're just kind of questing. I would probably save Strength or other removal, maybe fire the cannons for Iago, because he can just so easily one-shot Tiana. Mowgli, again, the opposite of what we just talked about. Mowgli can be important to rip into the unknown, and then that gives you a lot of information as well. But really, you're just playing your guys and questing on these big turns, understanding when Elsa comes down, so that you can make sure that you're prepared for that. You either have an exerted Tiana or something else. Next matchup is Amber Steel aggro into Purple Steel. This is certainly a very difficult matchup for the Amber Steel player, but it's not impossible. You want to Mowgli turn 2, that way you kind of just know what's going on with Tiana. If you can then play Tiana on turn 3 and realize they don't have a strength, you can just start turning your guys sideways. Fire the Cannons is pretty good against Cobra, again, who can kill Tiana by just paying the 3 ink for Tiana's ability. I really don't think this is a matchup where you want to be questing with your daisies. The Purple Steel decks are typically using like 56 characters, or maybe if they have a couple Zeus bolts or Fire the Cannons, maybe it's as low as like 52, 53, but really Daisy is going to be pretty much a hit every time, so I'd probably just sit there until you're ready to like quest in 2 turns for game, build up a very, very wide board. Against Green-Blue, you do have an opportunity to go fast enough they can't get going. Some Green-Blue lists are on Under the Sea, but I don't think that really got caught on at the end of the set. Most of the 2 lists that got first and second for Green-Blue and Richmond were not on Under the Sea. And there's a few that are on Spooky Site as well. I know there was one on the feature match that was on Spooky Site. So you really just want to Mowgli either before they can Under the Sea or before they can play Spooky Site. It's just better safe than sorry. The deck does take a while to get going. And then, Mowgli's just so good in this matchup because you can do it before they can fill up combo you as well. So just save your Mowglis and use them right before the impactful turns. Amber Steel aggro versus Dogs. I think that this is a situation where you just kind of want to save your time. If you are playing Amber Steel and you sit across from a Dogs player, you might just want to pick your cards back up and tell them good game and hope they have a good rest of their tournament. That matchup is so impossible, it feels like. Because they can set up Singers and then Tramp and then Under the Sea. They can build a wide board and then Little Tramp their guy to just kill your Tiana without paying any ink. They can go fast too. There's always a chance they can go faster than you. They can fight the board. They can play the long game. They can Under the Sea your entire board. It feels pretty impossible as the Amber Steel aggro player. But if you're looking to make history, then just play it out. Purple Steel. Purple Steel is a deck. Oh, I forgot to say what Amber Steel aggro does. Amber Steel aggro plays all these guys that has all these a lot of these little diamonds here. That means that they quest for a lot, and then they turn them sideways, and they get points for those quest points. It's pretty cool. It goes really fast. Purple Steel. They play a guy on 1, play a guy on 2, play a guy on 3, and then on 4 they play a guy on 4, and then they sing this card Strength of Raging Fire with their 3-drop. And then they kill your board and out tempo you for the rest of the game, and then they use their Cobras to finish the game at the end. So they go very wide. So decks that struggle with big board control is a little bit of a problem for those decks. So if I'm on Purple Steel, I'm playing against Blurple. Again, it's just a value matchup essentially. They have blue removal cards and you have steel damage cards. You really want to be efficient with your trades. You're probably going to need your Strength of Raging Fires to help you win the evasive battle. So a lot of times I wouldn't be trading like 1-drop for 1-drop and stuff like that, because you need your board to be a little bit wider in order for your strengths to be more impactful. Whereas they don't really need that because they just have Hades and Into the Unknown, which just is free. Your evasives are very important, as is your Cheshire Cat, so you can win the evasive war as Purple Steel. And you can go a little bit faster than them, so really you want to try to get a little bit of a lead at the start, and then you can finish it off with Cobra. Purple Steel into Amber Steel aggro. Calhoun is so good in this matchup. Some Amber Steels are on Fire the Cannon, so I'm not sure if, your Palace Guard and your Iagos or your Cobras are really safe to just play raw. So, I mean, Cheshire Cat and Strength should pretty much just outright win you the matchup, but you have a lot of high strength guys as well that can do that. Lexington is really good to just be able to smack a Tiana and a Daisy around. Captain Hook and Calhoun just kind of like freezes their board. They can't even quest with Nala, and then by the time they're ready to quest with Tiana, you have Strength online. So, yeah. It's pretty straightforward. You just got to hope that they, but if they open Tiana Strength and they're on the play, then it's a little bit tough. For into green blue, if you're going into green blue, this is the best that green blue has ever been into purple steel. In set 9, it was a little bit more difficult, but with the Prince Philip combo online, it's like you can deal with these wide boards so easily. Most of the green blue decks are on the little Prince as well, so it makes it a lot more manageable to be able to play that combo on turn 5, whether you're sailing into Prince Philip on 4, or just playing him and then kind of taking a turn off. Purple Steel can't go that fast that they're going to be beating you before turn 5 when you can shift your Prince Philip. And they also don't have any way to interact with the combo unless they're running Peats. I know Peats were a little bit more common towards the end of the format, but it's really, they would need to string like 2 or 3 Peats together to really like make a really big difference. But anyway, I'm the purple steel player in this situation, so you're going to play your guys out as fast as possible and then just kind of start questing. You really want to prioritize your 3 strength characters because it can be pretty backbreaking if they are on an Under the Sea build, and then they just Under the Sea your entire board. That would be kind of sad. And then if they have a little Prince Philip out going into 6 ink, you probably know your board's getting wiped, so I wouldn't just like dump my hand like crazy. Save back some resources and see if you can refill after the board wipe. Purple Steel versus Dogs. This is a really interesting matchup because most dog decks are on Emerald Chromicon, but we saw Eddie Caudill at Richmond was playing a list with no Emerald Chromicon, was able to top 8 with it, and so it was just on 4 Under the Sea. And so these Purple Steel lists are actually pretty good into Under the Sea because there's a lot of 3 strength guys. Even with Eddie's list running Rhino and Della's Moon Lullaby, it was really hard to get a big Under the Sea while your opponent is going so wide on the board. So really, if they are able to get an Under the Sea off like that, it is pretty tough for you to come back. But as a Purple Steel player, you want to just get those 3 strength characters out, so they have to have the resources to use Under the Sea. You really want to figure out early if they're on Under the Sea or Chromicon, because that makes a really big difference in how you're going to play the matchup. If they're on Under the Sea, again, prioritize the 3 strength characters. If they're on Chromicon, you need to go a little bit wider so that if they're bouncing guys, you need to be able to like still maintain board presence. If they're running Chromicon, the hardest part is not being an idiot playing into the Chromicon, and I mean that genuinely. It's very, very difficult to make mistakes playing into Chromicon, so just take an extra second, think about it. Make sure that you've quested with your guys first, you're challenged with the guys you need to challenge with. Cheshire Cat boost before you challenge into Chromicon, because then if they bounce that, then you get an extra card in your hand. And then also if you can Elsa the Tramp, the big Tramp, and kill it before they can sing Under the Sea, that's pretty impactful as well. Of course, when they chain a few Tramps together, that's kind of an unwinnable situation anyway. All right, green blue is not exactly similar to how it was in set 9, because in set 10 it got 2 really impressive tools, which are Cinderella Dream Come True and Malicious Mean and Scary. So the kind of the professionally accepted line in the green blue deck is to ramp on 2, play Cindy on 3, and then you play 1-drop Clarabelle, shift 5-drop or shift a 7-drop Clarabelle on turn on 6 ink, and then you sing You're Welcome with the Cinderella. That kind of makes it so that there's no way for your opponent to interact with your board, and you can just get a big draw for Clarabelle without any sort of worry about your opponent stopping you. And then anytime you have the Prince Philip combo, things start to get out of hand, you can just Prince Philip combo, and the deck really has a lot of legs on a lot of different axes. It also has a lot of opportunity for tech cards like Ink Geyser and Jasmine, which we saw a few in the future matches of Richmond. But the standard versions don't have that. It's just like Clarabelle, Prince Philip, Cinderella, and a couple John Silver, stuff like that. If you're playing green blue into Blurple, it's pretty important to save Clarabelle on 6 because they have a chance to Elsa your Clarabelle. On the play, you can play Clarabelle on 1 if you want, but I still think it's probably better to hold it if you have turn 2 ramp. Late game, you really like 7 cost Basil is really good for bouncing genies. Then you can start discarding their cards. The way that you'll never lose this matchup is by setting up Singers, bouncing 2 to 3 cards with Mother Knows Best or You're Welcome, and then you play Bend to My Will. They have no hand, no board. It's pretty great. The only way they have to disrupt your board wipe combo is Demona to kill the little Prince Philip. But you should be ramping hard enough in this matchup anywhere where you don't really need a 3 cost Philip. You can just go straight into the 9 cost Philip. Green blue into Amber Steel aggro. So again, this is kind of tough for the green blue player. It's most of them aren't on Under the Sea. Most of them aren't on Spooky Sight. So I mean, the best line is to just get to Prince Philip combo as fast as possible. If you can double sail into 3 cost Philip, that's huge because then you can board wipe really, really early. Most likely you aren't on Under the Sea, so when you get Shift Clarabelle out, you can start to fight the board. The good thing is you always kind of want to be posturing like you have Spooky Sight or Under the Sea because your opponent has no idea what you have, assuming that it's not an open decklist tournament. And if you're watching my video, you're probably not good enough to be playing in an open decklist format. But after this video, you'll be plenty good, and you'll make every top cut you ever see. If you're using Spooky Sight, or you're trying to Mean Malicious and Scary combo, it's really important to keep an extra non-character card in hand because they do play Mowgli, and you really don't want them to rip your only way back into the game. Again, so green blue versus purple steel. Purple steel is a very difficult matchup into green blue. So green blue has a pretty big advantage at this point. The combo is just impossible for them to stop, and they can't go fast enough that we're not allowed to set it up. So if you can get an early Prince Philip combo, it's very difficult for purple steel player to come back. The purple steel dumps its hand pretty consistently, so Clarabelle line is not always the path you want to take. John Silver is great. It's great for fighting the board. It has high willpower, so it's hard for them to get off a strength that's big enough to kill John Silver. Of course, the only problem is that if they have Dumbos in play, then Dumbos can get around John Silver pretty effectively. But if the green-blue player just kind of sticks to the plan and goes to the Philip combo, it's usually going to be fine. I've seen so many non-games with green blue playing into dogs. If they get Lady into Little Tramp and then plus a Daisy, it's just like, okay, the game's over. But you just really got to hope you're on Spooky Sight. But then even if you Spooky Sight, they just draw Lady 5 and then play get all their guys back and play them again. So if you double sail into Philip 3, that's fine, but any of the good dogs players are just going to save their Ursula 2 in order to take the Malicious, Mean, and Scary. You really want to prioritize playing to the board so you can't quest for free. So they can't quest for free, but don't play to the board enough with all these 2 strength or less characters that you get destroyed by an Under the Sea. Really tough matchup. You really got to hope that you can get the Prince Philip combo pretty early and that they don't draw the nuts. Speaking of dogs plays a lot of cards that are dogs. That's kind of what they do, and their opponent's just looking at the cards like, oh, those dogs are so cute, they can't even play against it. So when you're playing dogs, you want to play a bunch of little dogs. You slam a Chromicon and Quest. Some are on Under the Sea, some are on Chromicon, some are on, well, I think they're all probably on at least a couple Under the Sea, but some are not on Chromicon now after we saw the top 8 list from Richmond. And then we have Go-Go and Lady 5 to close out the match. So if you play your guys fast, if you're going dogs into Blurple, you just want to play your guys fast. You try to snipe Into the Unknown with Ursula and Mowgli, because they can Into the Unknown the Tramp after you sing Under the Sea or after you quest with them, and that's kind of annoying. Hades can hold a lot of damage, so when you see Hades hit the board, a lot of times it's nice to just have him keep crashing into your Lilo that you keep bringing back or whatever, and then you can just go for like 5. Lady 5 is really important, so that you can get your guys back, of course. Chromicon and Under the Sea are both great in the matchup. Again, Under the Sea can get surprisingly really good Under the Seas into Blurple because there's all these 2 strength guys. And then Chromacon's obviously huge because you think like, well, Hades, what does it matter? But most of their stuff early on is just banishing through challenging with like Elsa and then whatever other guys they have out. And if you can prevent them from getting a wide board, then you're in a pretty good spot as a dogs player. Dogs into Amber Steel aggro. Let me check my notes. It says here, just close your eyes and throw cards onto the board. Make sure 2 of them are Big Tramp and Under the Sea, and then you should win. So get out there. Dogs into Purple Steel. This is a much more manageable matchup if you're on Chromacon. It's not impossible either way. I do think Purple Steel is one of Dogs' hardest matchups, probably the hardest matchup, but certainly winnable still. Ursula and Mowgli leading into their turn 4, so they can't sing Strength, or just Strength, I guess. Be conservative with your Daisy quests, because if you're on Daisies, because again, they run like 90 characters, and so if you quest a Daisy, you're probably giving them some gas. Really, you just want to build up those wide boards and then quest for 10 one turn, and then quest for 10 the next turn, unless you get an early Chromacon. Della's Moon Lullaby is surprisingly very good in this matchup. Sometimes if you're on the play, sometimes they open with a Palace Guard. If you just like play Lady 1 or something, and then you can just Lullaby their Palace Guard, draw a card, and then just quest with Lady, like that's actually pretty hard for them to manage, because now their strength is 1 fewer damage. It can't kill some of the 4 strength willpowers when they play their 4-drop. So that can be kind of a funny play that actually works out pretty well. Or you can save it for potential Cobra, who can trade into your Lady 5 for free. Well, they lose their Cobra, but Dogs into Green Blue. If you're playing Dogs into Green Blue, again, some of your runouts are just so spectacular that you don't even really. It's not really a problem. If you get Lady Tramp Daisy, then you're out flying. But Go-Go is really, really, really important in this matchup. Big Tramp is not so important in this matchup. Chromacon does almost nothing. Under the Sea does almost nothing. So if you're on Bobbies or Yzmas, make sure you're probably discarding those. Tramp 7 doesn't even really do that much. You just want to go pretty quick. And then Ursulas and Mowgli's are really important in the matchup though, because you can snipe those. One time I was playing a Dogs game where I Mowgli turn 2 and I hit the only sail in their hand. The sail was the only action in their hand, and that was their only ramp, and that was living. If you haven't done that yet, you got to play some more reps to get that out, because it feels great. But those 2 cards, Mowgli and Ursula, are very important leading into those turns to hit the Under the Sea, Spooky Sight, Malicious Mean and Scary. You're welcome to a lesser extent, though you're typically pretty happy to get cards back. So yeah, you're just trying to figure out throughout the match which of those cards they're on, so that you can try to make sure that you can plan accordingly. And that is it. Wow, we slammed through those. So that was Blurple, Amber Steel aggro, Purple Steel, Green Blue, and Dogs. Hopefully I can do this a little bit closer to the middle of the set next time, so that you can use all of this fantastic information leading into the set champ season. Again, if you want to learn about the best way to do any of these mirrors, or if you have any other ideas for content that you'd like to see me put out, please comment down below. Make sure you send this video to your friends, especially your dumb ones, so they can learn how to play the game a little bit better. I am teacher of math, and I will see you next time.